All right, welcome everyone to our week 2 live session for DES 242, Logo and Identity Design. I'm your graphic arts instructor, Shannon McNamara. So I'm happy to see some familiar faces again today. Thanks for being able to make it. And for those of you watching at home, this is kind of going to be a big week. It's our week before our holiday break, which is awesome. I'm sure that you guys are ready for the holiday break. I'm ready for the holiday break. I don't know if I'm actually prepared for the holidays, to be honest. I have 0 gifts wrapped. I'm looking at the big stack of boxes from Amazon sitting in my office right now. So hopefully that will magically get done and I'll have some elves come over and help me out. But yeah, I think, this is going to be a great week for us. So let's take a quick look at our agenda for today. I have some announcements to go over. We're actually going to do a week 1 logo critique. And then we're going to talk about some logo uses and sizes. And then if time allows, we'll get into assignment 2. If time does not allow, I will do that tomorrow during our live session. So just a reminder when it comes to the holiday break, if you can make every effort to get your work in by Friday, that would be great. I am hosting Christmas at my house, so that means that there is going to be a lot of prep that needs to get done. So again, anything that you guys can do to help me out, I'm going to try to grade throughout the week to at least get your initial grades back to you. If you do resubmit work for a better grade, that probably won't get done until after the holidays, but I want to try to do my best to make sure that I am getting everything back to you on time. So anything that you can do to help would be awesome. Also, all assignments and assessments, they're still due by Saturday for full credit. Make sure that you are communicating regarding late work. The week 4 assignments, I'll say this every week, can't be turned in late. If anything happens when you're trying to upload your week 4 work, please make sure that you email it directly to me so I have it first thing in the morning when I go in and grade, and I will grade it. Your original discussion post for this week is due by Wednesday, and you need to remember to respond to 2 of your fellow students by Saturday. Make sure that you're posting on 2 different days. Also, if you did not take part in the week 1 discussion post, that will only be open through this Saturday, and the week 2 post will only be open through the week 3 deadline. So again, late discussion posts are only accepted 1 week after the deadline. Also, if you are missing your work for week 1, that will only stay open through January 5th, which is the day before we come back from holiday break. So again, most times the deadline isn't, through the end of week 2, which would have been this Friday. I will leave it open through January 5th, but please do not wait until then. Don't let all the work snowball. If you are a little bit behind going into the break, please use the break to catch up this week. So live sessions are Mondays and Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. I like to hold them early so that way you have some ample time during the week to get your assignments done. If you do need any outside help, the Student Success Center is open with tutoring available and no appointment is necessary. And just a reminder that holiday break is December 23rd through January 5th. So you do not need to log into the course during that time. There won't be any daily checkpoints to be done. I mean, you can log into the course if you want to, but you won't have to worry about doing those daily checkpoints during that time. It took me about 3 hours, but we reset all of the daily checkpoints to begin and come back, when you guys come back from break. But you do need to make sure that you log in and do a daily checkpoint or log into the course the day before you go on break and the day you come back, because you don't want there to be that problem where you've gone 14 days outside of the course. So please make sure to log in on the last day and then log back in on the first day that you need to come back. Yeah, you have no idea how long it took me to go through and redo all those daily checkpoints and change all of the due dates, because they all have to be changed in about 3 different places in each of the quizzes. It was not a fun time. I'm not going to lie. So here is the support schedule during the winter break. You can see that the Student Success Center will have some hours, IT will have some hours, the Writing Center will have some hours, and the librarians will be available. If you go into your course and go directly to the dashboard of the course, whoops, let me leave student view. There we go. It will show up in your dashboard. There's that winter break schedule. There was a notification about problems with daily checkpoints. This didn't seem to affect graphic design, but if anything comes up with any of the daily checkpoints, please let me know. Again, I'm in the MBA program, and it actually happened to me that I knew for certain that I got my daily checkpoint correct and it marked it wrong. So I had to email my instructor and say, hey, I'm pretty sure I had the right answer. And he was the one who let me know even before this message showed up for all the instructors. Also, there's going to be some fun things going on during the break. So the Winter Baking Cookie Festival, there's going to be a winter break contest that will begin during Mod 13. There'll be some cool discussion and quizzes, and then some sweet prizes. So you can watch for the course in Canvas in order to participate. It'll just kind of show up in Canvas for you. I'm not going to lie, I don't have a ton of information on this. Every time I see it, though, I'm like, is somebody going to bake cookies and send them to me? Because that would be awesome. Unfortunately, I don't think that that's how that's going to go. All right, so let's get into our course and take a look at some of our announcements that we have here. And this one's important, and this one is important. Well, they're all important, but these are the 2 that I really want to make sure I go over with you. So, week 1 work is in. If you are not happy with your grade on your assignment, remember I went over this last week. The assessment is a paper, so I do not regrade papers. You have 1 shot at the paper because you do have the ability to go to the Writing Center, have somebody look it over before you submit it to me. So I will not regrade papers or the auto-graded quizzes. But if you aren't happy with your grade for your assignment, you've read over my comments and you understand where things went wrong, I do allow 1 resubmission for a better grade. Those resubmissions need to be completed by the Tuesday of week 4, so it's not like you have to get it done today. And that would be January 15th. And then discussions cannot be resubmitted. So if you are missing work from week 1, there is still time to fix this. Try and get that missing assignment or assessment in as soon as you can. There's still time to bring up your grades going into week 2. The week 1 and week 2 deadlines will stay open through the winter break and will close on the following dates. Week 1 will be open again through 1/5, which is the last day of the break. And week 2 will remain open through January 12th, which is the last day of week 3. Don't forget that we have readings and videos from week 2. We can take a look at those after we go through this announcement. Again, if you need some help with your discussion question, if you're missing your assessment from last week, make sure that you get into the Writing Center. I did submit, if everyone remembers, an example to follow for APA format. Again, if you want to come to the live session, or if you're watching this, I'm sure that live, you figured this out. But if you're watching from home and you don't remember, exactly how to get into the live session, you can get in through the live session tab. That's also where you can find the recordings of the sessions. But I also share the recordings and my slides in the announcements. So make sure that you are, reading the announcements each week. If you do need some extra help, make sure that you're visiting the Student Success Center. There's computer support. Don't forget to take those daily checkpoints. And Adobe Help is offered Fridays from 10 to 12 p.m. with Sean. And here is his Zoom room. So before I get into Wanda's Learning Coach flyer, let's take a look at our readings and videos for this week, because I just brought that up. Scroll on down to week 2. All right. So this week we have some lynda.com videos on core concepts, which is branding versus identity versus logo, exploring effective brand identities, and then presenting your deliverables. So exploring common brand assets, developing a logo guide, developing a color guide, developing a typography guide. Remember when I was showing you guys during week 1 the Nike guide? That's kind of what we're going to be developing. You know, Nike has an entire team that sits down and develops a color guide, a typography guide, and does all of their brand identity documentation. And if you want to use their logo, if you want to run one of their ads, you are sent that, and they will basically reject, you know, your ad if you don't follow their deliverables. They're extremely particular. And then chapter 3 is on delivering the final product, exploring file formats, things you should check on before delivery, exploring where to host your deliverables, and then archiving your project. And then we have a PDF reading as well on corporate makeovers by Poppy Evans. So you can download that PDF and read that over as well. So again, a couple of videos for this week and 1 reading, but it's really going to help you to understand everything that we need to know for our discussion, assignment, and assessment for this week. So again, here are Wanda's hours in the Student Success Center. If you need to get in there at a different time, what you can do is see if there's another learning coach who might be able to assist. Usually with the graphic design courses, one of the other learning coaches is able to help out. Oh, excuse me. But Wanda's hours on Monday, she's off. Wednesday, she's off. And Saturday, she's off. But she has hours Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. And all times are Mountain Time. So you can get into the announcements to just kind of double check and see what her hours are. All right, I had shared this because in the gradebook, I had given annotations on the PDF files that you uploaded and left you guys some notes. So I wanted to show you how to view those annotations and feedback in the gradebook. I did make this when I was teaching another course, so the assignment doesn't match, but the location of where to find the information does. So let me play that real quick for you. Morning, everyone. I wanted to just make a quick video to show you how you can see your feedback on your grades that I've left, the little notes that I've left on your PDFs. So if you go over into your grades area and scroll down, I'm going to use the week 1 assignment as an example. What you need to do is it'll show your grade. You can see the rubric. So you can see where you may have lost some points. And then if you click on View Feedback, this will show you that PDF where I have annotated the notes for you. So this will be a little bit helpful so you can preview and you can see where each of the boxes, there's a little dotted line that shows where the note goes to and the different feedback. So hopefully this is helpful. All right, there you go. So again, you know, it's just so much easier sometimes to kind of see those little notes attached to the PDFs as opposed to writing out you know, things that are wrong and you're trying to reference your file. So I do like that Canvas allows us to annotate the PDF files now. I think that's really helpful. All right. So let's talk a little bit about logo design and logo size. So, and why it actually does matter. You know, when it comes to logo design, size matters. A logo has to look good and be legible at all different sizes. So remember how we were looking at the coffee logo that I was recreating last week, and it didn't work at a smaller size. There in and how we were talking about, there's only two places that this logo is really going to be used, is on the packaging for the boxes of coffee and on the little K-cups themselves. And those are the only two products that this company has, and their own logo doesn't work on one of their products. So that just goes to show you that, you know, somebody who designed that logo didn't take the size into account when they were designing the logo. So it's not effective if it loses too much definition when it's scaled down for letterheads, envelopes, or small promotional items, or to go on the top of a K-cup. The logo also has to look good when it's used for larger formats, such as posters, billboards, and electronic formats, such as TV and web. So the most reliable way to determine if a logo works at all sizes is to actually test it yourself. So you want to note that the smallest scale is usually the hardest to get right. So start by printing the logo on a letterhead or an envelope and see if it's legible. And I mean it. Print it out, because sometimes we'll make it that size on the screen, and we'll even zoom out and we're like, yeah, it looks great. But it isn't until it's printed and you can see whether it or not it works, you know, going through your inkjet printer. If you have an inkjet printer, I have one with toner, so it's a little bit better. But even still, things can, if they start to get smudged and some of the lines start to run together, then we know it's not going to work. You can also test the larger scale by rendering it a poster size version at a print shop. You know, if you are being paid by a client, that would be a worthy investment to go and have that done. But the other way that you can do it, make it as big as you can on your screen and really zoom in and look for little things where maybe that curve isn't correct. And at a large, you don't notice it at the, you know, at the size it's going to run on a letterhead. It looks like a really nicely drawn curve, but maybe when it becomes extra huge, you notice those little idiosyncrasies. Another thing that you can do is, if you have, to be able to see it nice and large, if you have a smart TV or if you have Chromecast or something like that, you know, maybe make a YouTube video that has your logo on it, just the logo, and play it on the TV so you can see it really large if you have a large screen TV. I've done that before, you know, as a way to kind of trick myself into seeing whether or not something is going to work, you know, because it always looks good when we're looking at it, you know, maybe 3 inches by 3 inches on our screen. So here are some examples of logos that just aren't going to work when they start to get, you know, smaller and smaller. This craneriggingattachments.com. First off, this is the longest name ever for a logo, to be put on a logo. There's way too much going on here. towercraneschool.com. I can understand, like, you know, why they did it, because it's kind of clever. And then craneexam.com. But these are illustrations. This isn't a logo. It's kind of like, you know, a lot of you chose to do the Starbucks logo and the evolution of the Starbucks logo for your assessments this week. And that was such a great choice, because you know, Starbucks did not get it right the first time when they created their logo. Know who else didn't get it right? Apple. As crazy as that sounds, I'm about to lose my voice. I do apologize. Let me pull up the original Starbucks logo and the original Apple logo, and you can see exactly what I mean. So here is the original Starbucks logo in a pop-up ad. I hate the internet sometimes. Look at, I mean, the Starbucks coffee, tea, and spices, that's great. But look at how much is going on with that mermaid in the original Starbucks logo. And this is on our screen. All of the definition is completely getting lost here. When they went to the Starbucks coffee and they lost the tea and spices, which is kind of interesting because have you ever gone to Starbucks and bought spices? I haven't. I was not even aware that that was a thing that they would have there. This was a little bit better. And then they've lost the name completely at this point because the mermaid is so iconic. They know that you know who they are based on this. But you can see where there was just way too much going on in that original logo. Oh, these ads. The internet is seriously a pain in the butt these days. Here's a better version of it. So you can see like all of this definition as the logo gets reprinted and gets smaller, it just becomes really, really muddy, and it doesn't work for that reason. There's just too much going on here. So over the years, they've really started to simplify it. Everybody was kind of up in arms when they got rid of the name, the Starbucks coffee, from the name of the logo, and they went to just the mermaid. But you can see the evolution of us simplifying things in graphic design. Yes, she did. And you can see that, as designers, we're really trying to just pare things down and become a little bit more minimalistic and really keep things simple. Let's look at the original Apple logo. If you want to talk about busy, this is not a logo again. This is an illustration. This literally looks like an illustration. It looks like, what is it? A linograph, where somebody sat there and really did a great job drawing this, but this is not a logo. Imagine this scaled down on a business card. You don't even have to imagine. I can show you exactly what it would look like. This will just take a moment. I didn't have InDesign ready to go. But a standard business card is 2x3. So once you really scale this down, not many people know that this is the original Apple logo. This is like I think this is the logo that they were using when they were still building computers in their garage, but still, when we think of Apple and we think of, great design and everything else, for them to have this for a logo is kind of funny. Somebody, Steve Jobs at the time definitely wasn't thinking about design. So here it is, full size. Let's scale this down to fit in our business card. And this is the size of a business card. This is the size it would be on the page. So you might not always, even have it go from edge to edge. You would probably want to have, a little bit of a margin, at least probably an 1/8 of an inch. So let's add it. Let's add in that margin and make sure that we stay within the margin. And I'm actually going to print this just so I can kind of show it to you. Coming off of my home printer, I think it's on over there. We'll see. We'll see if anything happens. It looks like it's off. I just had to replace the toner, in it. $66 later. But yeah, you know, and then after that, it did go to the Apple with all the colors, which was this one, the retro Apple logo. So here is the evolution of the Apple logo. And most of us remember this one with the multiple colors. All right, depending on your age, I should say, because they did change it to all black in 1998. But this is the logo I remember going through elementary school and high school, because it was a logo that was on all the computers that were in the school during that time. And then when I went off to college, you know, they changed it to just the black logo. And then for a while in the 2000s, they got very stylistic, and they had, this one went on, if I remember correctly, this started because it followed the color format for the old G4 towers. That did not print very well. Hold on one moment. Let's see. I would like you to not print all the way off of the page, because that's not even helpful at all. There we go. All right. Like, what is going on here? They went to this very, very stylized logo, and I can probably pull up, my husband used to have one of these computers, G4 Apple computer. It looked like this, the Power Mac G4. We had one at home. Our work had them everywhere, but you can see based on the color scheme that's why they went with this logo. And then in 2007, they started to simplify it a little bit, but you still had that, just so many gradients and beveled and embossed and Photoshop and so much stuff going on that it really was way too much going on in a logo when you started to scale it down again. So let me turn on my camera for a second, and I'll just show you the printout I got. All right, so I printed out that logo, and even though it's kind of dark in here, it's so gross outside right now. I don't know if this will help or hinder, but I'll try to turn it on a little bit. But you can see that it's becoming kind of a blob on the page. You can't even make out what it says. You can't even make out the image. It kind of looks like there's a guy there. And that's not even because I got it off the web. Because when we saw that I brought it in to InDesign, I am only placing this at 20%. Right, you can't even tell what it is. I'm only placing this at 20%. So yeah, it was low res, but there's just so much going on that when I print it out, I'm losing all of the definition, you know, in the tree up here. I can kind of make out that that's a guy, but it's kind of a blob. And I only know it's a guy because I knew what it looked like full size. So this is why it really is important to print everything out and see how it looks, you know, because you're going to find things that, and then somebody might say, yeah, but that's your home printer. Okay, but how are you going to control that someone isn't going to print your logo using their home printer? Maybe, you know, your client has has some letterhead and he wants to just quickly print it out instead of having it professionally printed. He wants to just put his logo on something or put his logo on an invoice. He or she is not going to want to send it out if the logo looks like a big blob. So, you know, you have to be prepared for your logo to work in every single instance. All right, so let me close this. And don't feel bad if you didn't get it right the first time around. Apple didn't get it right the first time around. You know, I mean, I don't think that Apple truly got it right until this logo or this logo, even this one. You know, 1, 2, 3. Out of the 6 logos on the screen, I think they have 3 good ones. You know, too much going on, too much going on, too much going on. So it just kind of shows you that, you know, this is what everybody's doing right now. Is they're trying to simplify their logos. So, you know, you can probably imagine what would happen if we took these crane ones and put them on a business card. You know, the MasterCard simplified their logo. Dunkin' Donuts, I mean, they've simplified both their logo and they're simplifying their name to just Dunkin'. I think they're removing the donuts. There seems to be a whole lot of Dunkin'. I don't know if they have a new logo yet, though, for it. Let's see. Yeah, they're going to just DNKN, Dunkin'. Right there. So that's, you know, they're losing the donuts from the logo, and it looks like they're even losing the coffee cup. So, you know, I mean, everybody is simplifying. All right, so when it comes to color, you want to have a clever use of color. You know, color theory is really complex, but designers who understand the basics are able to use color to their advantage. So there are some basic rules that you want to keep in mind. You want to use colors near each other on the color wheel. So think of your different palettes. Maybe you want to have a warm palette, or maybe you want to have a cool palette. So if you were going to have a warm palette, you might use reds, oranges, and yellow hues. Don't use colors that are so bright that they're hard on the eyes. The logo also needs to look good in black and white, grayscale, and even just 2 colors. And breaking the rules is sometimes okay. You just want to make sure that you have a good reason to, and that it works. Is it possible for a company to want 2 logos, one for larger banners? You know what? I would say that they should only have 1 logo, but that doesn't mean that you can't create a custom illustration for them to use on something larger, such as a banner, and kind of incorporate, you know, that doesn't even seem like the name of their company. It just seemed like a logo for their website. So there's no reason that you couldn't create that crane for a billboard and incorporate the URL into it as an illustration, just not necessarily as a logo, if that makes sense. But I think that they should only have 1 logo, because the whole idea behind a logo is that's your identity. So, you know, it's kind of like I have 1 name. But it could get confusing if some people call me one name, other people call me another name. It might, yeah, exactly. It might confuse people. Like, are they the same company? I'm not exactly sure. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. You want to make things as the least confusing for consumers as possible, because consumers have so many different options in front of them. Just think of when you go to the grocery store, how many different cereal options there are. Could you imagine if Kellogg's had 2 different logos, one for their kids cereal and maybe one for their adult cereal? That might confuse you, because you're like, wait, is it Kellogg's? Like, is this, I don't know, I have a Kellogg's coupon for $1 off of any cereal. Are they both, is this Kellogg's? You know, I mean, I'm just thinking of myself and how it is grocery shopping when I'm trying to hurry up and find what it is I'm looking for. If I have a recipe and somebody says, make sure that you use the Campbell's cream of chicken soup, because their cream of chicken soup in this, it'll end up tasting better than if you used the Progresso, and Campbell's, you know, cream of chicken soup didn't have the Campbell's logo on it. It might get confusing. So knowing how color evokes feelings and moods, that's really important when you're picking colors too. So for example, red can evoke feelings of aggression. It can also evoke feelings of love, passion, and strength. You just want to keep those different things in mind. Keep this in mind as you try out different color combinations, and then try to match the color to the overall tone and feel of your brand. So again, it doesn't matter if you like blue, you want to make sure that blue works for the company. I like the colors, orange and gray together or blue and gray together, but I'm also creating a logo for a coffee company, and those might not necessarily be the best color choices. I need to think past what I like and look at, all right, this is a coffee company. What is it that I want to stand out? How am I going to make them stand out amongst all of the other coffees that are on the shelf right now? Those are some of the things that I need to keep in mind when I'm trying to put together a color combination. You want to play around with individual colors on their own. Some brands are recognizable solely by their distinct color. Think of the MasterCard logo. If we didn't see the word MasterCard right here, we just saw these two dots, we would still know that that's the MasterCard logo, right? Because we've just seen it so much. If I just saw the two letter D's right here, the orange and the pink, I would still know that that was Dunkin' Donuts because it's been ingrained in my mind. That and my first job was at Dunkin' Donuts when I was 14, serving coffee, and I'm a coffee person. When we see things that are this green, we think of Starbucks. The Google G, great example. Yes, some brands, you just know who they are based on their color. So for example, if you think of John Deere right now, I don't even have the logo up on the screen, but you can probably picture in your mind that John Deere green color, and that's what sets, the brand apart from its competitors. And importantly, it makes the brand more recognizable. I don't even have an example of the John Deere logo, but you can probably see what that sheet of green looks like in your mind. Or I don't have the Target logo up here, but if you saw a red bullseye, immediately you're going to think of Target in that bright, bright red. So here's that John Deere I was talking about. So again, that color theory is complex, but designers who understand the basics are able to use color to their advantage. So both of these logos technically have green and gold in them. One is working far better than the other. And again, why isn't this working? There's too much going on. Also, this feels like 1994. Like the swooshes going around, and I can picture this being some sort of a weird animated GIF rollover effect on a website from the mid-90s, where that was all the rage. So again, they've got this gold, but over this black background, we can't even read it. We can't even hardly read what's going on here. And this is for drywall, paint, trim, and tile. Is that what you think of when you see this logo? If you just look really quickly at this logo and you didn't even read the words that say American quality drywall, paint, trim, and tile, nothing about this logo tells me that. If anything, I first thought maybe it's for some sort of a financial accountant company or something. Even though it said Millennium Interiors, I was like, when I first saw the globe and this and the graph on the globe, I was like, oh, maybe it's for some sort of a hedge fund, or they do IT. I don't know. Something with the government. Exactly. Nothing about this says that they do drywall, paint, trim, and tile. So again, we keep going back to the KISS principle, but the simpler the logo, the more recognizable it will be. Again, the Nike swoosh How much more simple can you get? And it's one of the most recognizable in the world. So by following the KISS rule right from the start of the design process when you're brainstorming, it makes it so much easier. But I get it. Sometimes we just kind of go off on a tangent and we don't know when to stop, and we don't know when too much is too much. So again, often you'll find that you start with a relatively complicated design and then you end up with a simpler version of it at the end. So you want to really work the design down to its essentials and leave out those unnecessary elements. When you're putting something in, stop and say, is this necessary, or am I just adding something to add something? You know, less is more when it comes to a logo. So again, here's another one. Alternate escapes. I don't even know what they do. I don't remember. I look this up every single time that I have this slide. Alternate escapes. Because alternate escapes. Oh, they're a recreation center. I'm always like, what on earth is it that they do? And yeah, okay. So a rec center, like a place where you would go to bring your kids, you know, to do something during the day, and it'll probably cost you $1 million buying coins for the machines. And then they win dumb prizes with all the tickets that they get, you know, something, a place like that. But nothing about this logo says that at all. And then, you know, we see this and we're like, oh yeah, Nike. And I get it. What does this say about shoes? I get it, but it's become so iconic at this point, it works. So Illustrator, technically freehand, although nobody uses it, you've probably never heard of it. Photoshop and other graphic design programs are extremely powerful tools, and they also have tons of filters and effects that you can apply to your logo, but don't do it. Don't apply them. Don't do it. There's a time and a place for those powerful tools, but it's not necessarily when you are designing a logo. You know, your logo should not have a gradient. It should not have a drop shadow. It should not have a bevel and emboss. It should be simple, 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 simple. You know, playing around, seeing whether they enhance the logo is fine, but remember, simplicity is key. So again, here's another one. Just way too much going on. Precision Well and Pump Systems Inc. Let's count the effects here. We have a drop shadow here, another separate drop shadow here. We have some weird 3D effect with a gradient. We have a gradient on our text. We have a border on our text. There's just too much going on here. And the reason why borders don't work, I'm going to show you. Borders on logos don't work because they never scale correctly. And the same with gradients. They don't scale correctly. So I'm going to show you an example. Let's create a new... we'll do 4 artboards just so I can show you a couple of different examples right on the 4 artboards. And if you're like, I really need to add a border, I can show you the correct way to add the border. All right, so let me grab a font here. I'm just going to use this one. Come on. Really? Oh. So I'm gonna just type the word border. I'll even turn it to outlines and pull up some of my colors. Make it red, and then I'm gonna make it have just a black border. And I'll change the border to 6 point type. or 5-point type, which we can see, first off, the border is starting to encroach on my letters. Right here, you can see how my letter is technically this wide, but the border has encroached on all of the red, so I'm actually losing the red as the border becomes bigger. Well, what happens when, all right, here's my original. What happens when I need to scale this to maybe 20%? Look at what happened. The border overtook the red because it still has it as a 5-point stroke. That's what happens with the scalability. It doesn't work correctly. All right, let's bring it down here. And let's scale it to 200%. Well, now, again, the border still has a 5-point stroke. It's now getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So it doesn't, there's no consistency in my border. See what happens? But I get it. There might be some instances where you might need a border. So let's take this off. I'm going to show you the correct way to do it. What you would do, and again, you have to turn your text to outline, is you want to use an offset path. So you would go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and I like to preview, that's obviously too big, and start off at around like 0.008 maybe, 4. You just want to kind of monitor. You can see, you can kind of see what size it's going to make it. What it's doing is it's expanding and adding a path to the background of the original word. So we're not actually putting a border on the word. So this size kind of seems to work. And then I'm going to turn it to black and make sure it's in the back. So when I turn this to outlines, you can see that there's now 2 different versions of this. We have the original red, which is at the original size. And then the path, it made a copy of it in the exact spot it was, and it just moved the points out, that 0.04 on all sides, and expanded it. So now, when I grab this, let me make sure it's all grouped, group it. I'm going to make a copy, and I'm going to scale this down to 20%. It scales proportionally. I can zoom in. It now looks proportionally the exact same as it did there. Bring it over here. I'll scale it up to 200%. And again, we don't lose the definition of the border. It's proportionally moving with the size. Oh, it sort of does change the spacing between the letters because it's adding in, you know, an extra item. So yes, if you were to do something like this, what you would then need to do is, I'm going to ungroup it. You would probably want to group the B's together, group the O's together, group the R, the D, the E, the R, and then manually move these as a group to fix your spacing. Because yes, that is going to happen. Something like that. Yes, anytime that you, as a general rule, You always want to change the text in your logos to outlines, especially when you're done. If you're working in your sketches, it's okay to leave it as text, but once you have come to the conclusion, like, this is done, this is going to be my final draft of this, I need, that is when you need to, that's when you need to turn it to outlines, because the last thing you want is somebody to open up your logo and all the fonts default to like Myriad Pro or something. That would be awful. All right, so that's going into borders. I know that just kind of went off a bit. Oh, and then I was going to show you gradients. So the same thing happens with gradients. They don't, they don't scale correctly. I'll move this over here and get rid of these guys. So let's try it again with the gradient. All right, I'm going to turn this to outlines, find a gradient fill somewhere. We'll use this one. Whoops, we'll use this one. And oh, where are my options? Window. I almost never use gradients in here. So I'm like, where did you need to go away. I don't need a tour. All right, 90 degrees, or maybe I'll do 45 degrees. We'll try that. All right, so here's my original. I'm gonna make a copy. I'm gonna scale it down to 20%. And you can already kind of see, like, it's definitely moved a bit. It's not exactly where it was, although I will say this. Illustrator has gotten a little bit better with trying to redraw the gradients, but again, you can't know that that's always going to be the case where somebody opens up, your logo, that is going to be the most current version of this. Oh yeah, going back to the text to outlines, here's what I do. Because you guys have some great commentary going on in the chat, so I just want to kind of bring everybody else in at home. This is what I do. It's kind of weird, but again, it seems to work for me. Where am I? Week 1. Where did I save my assignment that I was working on? I know I named it something weird. Oh, Victor Allen's logo. It's like, man, I know I saved it. Whew. This is what I do. I drag my text off to the side before I turn it to outlines. So I have something over here that's still text, where I might have, I have the outline version over here, and I have this one as the text version over here. So again, it's kind of weird, but that's where working with multiple artboards is great, because you can, add some artboards and keep all of your text files over here while you're working with your outline files over there, things like that. So again, those are kind of some of the weird things that I might do, because yes, once you turn it to outlines, you can't go back and turn it back to text. So you always got to be careful with that. So again, you can kind of see where, gradients, again, they just, as they get smaller, they become harder to read, things like that. So you just want to kind of keep that in mind. when you're using a gradient. Plus, not for nothing, but gradients are a little bit dated. You know, they really are. Look at the old Apple logo. We know it's the old Apple logo because it's got the gradient on it. So that's the old logo. In our mind, that's how we know that. So you want to kind of keep that in mind. You know, logos should be timeless, and going back to those logos that were created by Rand Paul, you didn't see gradients, you didn't see borders, you didn't see bevel and emboss. You saw the most simplistic way to design it and keep it well designed, you know what I mean, to stand the test of time. And that's why those logos continue to work to this day. So here's, oh, I had this up here. That's kind of funny. So again, go easy on the effects. We've got this crazy illustration I still think that this is a good logo, to the simplistic way. You know, I don't know if I don't really think that there's a good way to do a gradient. And that's something that you need to, believe me, you will run into this with your clients. And as far as neon, you know, I would tell a client as well, you know, your client's going to say to you, I want like neon green, and I'm pretty sure that I really like the font Comic Sans. And you're going to say to them, listen, you know what? I wouldn't come in here and tell you, you know, how to run your guitar shop or how to give guitar lessons, because I don't know, and I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to read music, but I do know fonts. And I know that Comic Sans isn't a great font because, you know, X, Y, and Z, you know, you're a guitar shop, and Comic Sans is kind of like a little kid's font. It's reminiscent of writing badly on a chalkboard, something like that. And that's not you. That's not what you're about. And then as far as the neon, you can let them know, you know, neon's a very hard color to color match. So it may look great online on your website, but when we're trying to, you know, have printed material, things like that, it's going to get very costly for you to constantly be printing in a Pantone neon color. So kind of go back to what we learned in DES 114 when we were talking about different colors and color theory and those Pantone colors and how you would need to use specific Pantones for specific things. You know, you can kind of start to take all of this knowledge that you guys have gotten in the level 100 courses, and really it's still being applied to your level 200 courses. Yeah, you definitely, you know, you definitely need to think through when you're converting from CMYK to RGB to possibly Pantone. You know, you need to think about how those colors are going to translate based on where they're going to be used, because you want to have the least color variation when it's happening. So again, remember, you know, the goal of a logo ultimately is recognition. Even for the smallest place, the goal is recognition. The whole point of creating a logo is to build brand recognition. So we got to think about how we go about doing this. And it really does vary from case to case, but any goal with our logo is for the average person to just instantly call the brand to mind. And a few examples of this are Coca-Cola, Pepsi, McDonald's, and Nike. You know, you just get a glimpse of those logos and you instantly know and recognize the brands. And this can happen on the local level. I'm trying to think. There's a couple of different real estate sites locally. One is Jack Conway. And this is their logo. And if you're from this area, I mean, there's still kind of a lot going on. It's in the circle. It's got like 3 seagulls going on here. But no matter where you see this logo in this area of Massachusetts, you instantly know it's Jack Conway and that's the real estate people. And that may seem funny, but it's, you know, I mean, they have brand recognition just for being a local real estate company. So that kind of tells you something. I'm trying to think of some other local places where their logo, people in the area just would know them by their logo. I did the real estate ads for so long at the newspaper. I usually go to real estate. So I'm like, Ann Whiting Real Estate, same thing. But I'm trying to think of some other just businesses in the area that people would know the logo in the area that I am in. And you can probably think of a couple of places near you where maybe it's a smaller chain, like a very local chain. Oh, a local chain. So the 99 restaurant. The 99 restaurant is only in New England, basically. And this is their logo. It's the horseshoe with the 99 on it. And people will see that, on the highway, and they're like, oh, well, if we're looking for a place to eat, there's a 99 over there, things like that. And they've simplified their logo over the years as well. This is kind of like the full version that goes on the signs, 99 restaurant and pub, but people would see just a horseshoe with the 99. They instantly know that it's, the place that they like to eat around here. So again, it doesn't need to be a nationwide account for there to be that brand recognition. It can just be smaller mom and pop places, and eventually you recognize them. Like this place, Stan and Paul's. I mean, this isn't actually I don't know who did this. Like the logo on their sign is actually better. That's usually what goes on things. But people know them. They know that that's their logo, and it's extremely simplistic, but it kind of works. Again, recognition. People in the area, they just completely recognize it. So again, the key to making a popular and recognizable logo is to combine all of the elements that we discussed today. So size, style, color, typography, originality. And overlooking any of those during the design process will really impair the quality of the final design. So you want to examine your logo design and see whether it meets all of those criteria. And a quick test to determine if your logo is recognizable enough is to invert it using any graphic design software. So change it, bring it into Photoshop and hit invert. And the mirror of the logo should also be recognizable. So that's something weird to try too. So keep in mind that logos aren't always seen head on in real world situations. For example, it might be on the side of a bus or a billboard that you drive by. So it needs to be recognizable no matter where it is. So make sure to view your logos from all different angles and ensure that it's recognizable from any direction before you submit it to the client. And the reason why we say before is because some clients, once they see something, even though it doesn't work, they can't get it out of their head. You'll run into this. Like you're going to have clients where you're going to show them 3 different logos, your top 3. And you're going to say to yourself, they're definitely going to pick number 2 because number 2 blows the rest of them away. And number 3, not my best work. And no matter what, they're going to be like, love number 3. And you're going to be like, oh, but it happens. It definitely happens. So if you're not happy with it, don't submit it to your client because Murphy's Law says that that's going to be the one that they're going to pick every single time. Always seems to happen to me. So, all right. With that being said, I wanted to go into a critique today, and I do apologize. There are so many students in these two sections that I am teaching this mod. I have never had this many students. There's almost 80 of you guys. Like, that is just far and away the most students I have ever had in a mod. So what I did was I grabbed 21 PDFs and I said, I don't even think that we're going to get through all 21 of these PDFs, but let's try it. And I kind of just grabbed them at random and started numbering them. So please do not feel bad if your work is not here. It's not necessarily reflective of your work. I just tried to grab 10 from each class, and then the last one was actually really cool. So I was like, oh, I actually want to show this one because not many people did the financial logo, and this person had done the financial logo, and I was like, oh, I gotta show a financial logo. I don't even know if there's one in here. So with that being said, please do not feel bad if your work is not here. I do apologize. Again, there was just no way that we could show all 80 of these. All right. So we have, this one's going to be for Break of Day, Bagel Cafe. So we've got some sketches. So this person had sketched out on paper and then scanned them in, or either that or took a picture of it. But you can definitely see the sketches well. So we've got some bagels going on here. Then we've got, you know, the coffee cup, just the word, and it looks like the of is turned into the sun. So again, you want to be careful, especially with this. What stands out in this? The coffee cup stands out, not the name of the company. So again, you don't want your, you know, your illustration to be bigger than the name of your company if your company is not that well known, if that makes sense. Then we've got the Break of Day with the mountains, Bagel Cafe, a sun, another coffee cup there. And then here are some of the other sketches. And at this point during, I know there might have been some confusion, but at this point, the refined sketches should have been what you would submit to a client in your mind almost completely done. Just to let you know. So if I left you notes and said, you know, these still feel like sketches, these don't feel like they're refined, that's why. So I like the simplicity of this one. I actually think that this is a good font choice to go with this. I would like to see it, you know, drawn. Watch your spelling. I know a couple of people had some spelling errors in the logo, but you definitely don't want to show your client. And it's not just this, there was a lot of spelling errors that I saw. So you just definitely want to double check that, that you're not showing a client a logo with their name spelled wrong, because that's going to be the first thing that they pick up on, and they will pick up on nothing else about what could be a great logo that might work for them. They're just going to fixate on that. Right, and make sure your alignment is on. Yes. I would have actually, I like where this one's going. I almost wanted somebody to do like Break of Day Bagel Cafe and have like the name make the logo. Does that make the bagel? You know, like maybe even look like it's like, you know, the cream cheese spread or something on the bagel. Like that would have been really cool. Or it was like, you know, toasted into the bagel. That would have looked really cool. And then this one, I like where the illustration is going. I think it's too tall personally right now, but I'm not feeling the typewriter font. You know, again, you want to pick a font that goes with the place. And I'm not sure. Oh, right. With an egg on top. Yeah. And like something like that, or, you know, that could be fun. So again, just kind of realize, you know, when you're picking those fonts, you know, I might have left you some comments saying, hey, you know, I don't know if this is the best font choice. All right. So now we have Hale and Carter's. So this one, 2, And here's the thing, these are sketches. So if things are kind of on top of other things in a sketch, that's okay. But I would want to see this refined where you would, this wouldn't be running into the text on a refined logo. So using the note as the ampersand, I like. We've got the guitar pick. The guitar, again, I remember how we were talking about paring things down. Isn't necessary. All of the different stuff going on, and I don't think that it is for this one. This one, I think this one, which I might have said, where are we? This one's probably my favorite of the bunch. Which it was picked, yes. This one, yeah, I think out of the three, this one I think is the strongest out of all of them. I really like this combination of fonts together. I think it works really well. I think I might have left in the notes that I wanted to see maybe the strings line up with the bottom of the letters. And maybe even, now that I'm looking at, maybe even the top of the guitar head line up with the top, just to really continue that line. I think that would look great. Double check, and again, remembering that this needs to be used, it might need to be used on a billboard. Double check your line work here. Oh, could my computer seriously be any slower today? I don't even, what are you finding? I didn't ask you to look for anything. I wanted to zoom in. So see where there's that little extra bump right there and those little extra bumps right here? You really want to go in and make sure that you're using the least amount of points possible. So I would probably do 1 point, pull, 1 point, pull, 1 point, pull, 1 point, pull. I can kind of do a demo of that if that'll be helpful, and if not, you can just let me know. Just to kind of to show you that. And I know it took me a long time in Illustrator to get the pen tool. My husband's a graphic designer, and when I tell you that he excels at the pen tool, he seriously makes me look like I don't even know what I'm doing when it comes to the pen tool, which is great because when we have, personal projects that we need to get done, I'm always like, oh, can you just do that for me? But there are times where I obviously need to do it myself, like right now. But, he's the person who showed me how to use the pen tool. And one of the tips that he gave me is he told me to, just set the border or the stroke to 1 point or 0.5 and change it to hot pink. And he's like, and then you can kind of see what you're working with and make sure that the inside is set to nothing. He's like, it just makes it a little bit easier. So I was like, all right, well, let's see. I'm going to lock this so I don't accidentally move it while I'm drawing. And he said least amount of points possible. So you want to find, where you can grab and pull from. Hold on. There we go. I have, and like I said, like this takes time, like literally time to master these skills. Like, I mean, that's why I was letting people know, if you don't feel like you are a master illustrator at this point in your career, that is okay. It's okay to not feel like you're not a master illustrator at this juncture. Because you might not be. Let me see. Oh, okay. Move this out of the way. Yep, move you out of the way. And again, you want to really zoom in there. And see, I'm not even happy with right here. I would probably keep working at that. Honestly. But again, the least amount of points possible. So this only has, let's look. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I closed it. So only 8 points. Here. And again, it's just that the less points that you use, the less chance that you're going to have of those little like bloops that end up happening. That's what and again, this is like things that my husband, who is really, really good at this, things that he has kind of instilled in me. And I'm like, okay, all right, thank you. Yes, we know you're the pen tool god. But yeah. So I think that this one, I would continue on with this one. I really like this one. I think that one's great. Close that out. All right, next we have Metropolitan Art Gallery. Got this one. I think these are sketches first. And then I'll go back through and say I'll save my thoughts for the final 3. That'll probably be the best thing to do. All right, so here's where I'm thinking on this. Again, you want to be careful. This is a very stylized font, and this is a very stylized font. So you want to be careful when you're putting 2 extremely stylized fonts together. Kind of like, this is very stylized, this is very stylized. These are both stylized. These are both stylized. And also, one of the things that I ran into a lot with the Metropolitan Art Gallery that I'm going to let you guys know, an art gallery is a place where, they sell paintings. It's not a place to go to make paintings. So I saw a lot of, easels and pen, brushes and paint palettes, but it's not a paint studio. It's a art gallery where any type of art can be sold. It doesn't have to be a painting. It could be photographs. It could be sculptures. Anything can be sold in an art gallery. So you want to keep that in mind. A paintbrush and an easel, or a paintbrush and a palette, doesn't necessarily go because of that. Because think of what an art gallery sells. They might sell fine art paintings. They might sell lots of photography. Maybe they specialize in photography. Maybe they specialize in glass sculptures. So if their logo has a paintbrush, people might get confused and think it's a place to go paint. Because there's a lot of those places now where you can go, like, kind of like the, what is it, when you drink wine and you paint the pictures, and everybody's mother loves to go do that. I'm not going to lie. I love going and doing that too. where, oh, what are they called? Paint nights. You know, so you don't want to confuse it with a paint night. You know, that's a very common thing that happens now. People love going on paint night. I always say people's mothers, that's literally my mother's worst nightmare. I don't know how I am her daughter, but I am. And she had to come to she had to. I say that, I laugh, but like her friend was hosting a paint night type thing. So she had to go because she got guilted into doing it. So she made me go with her. Like I had time to do this. And she made me sit there and do her painting for her while she sat there. And I was like, you know, this isn't the point of me painting your snowman for you. And then she put her initials on the bottom of it. And she tells everybody that this is her snowman that she painted at paint night. And I was like, yeah, isn't it great? It looks just like mine. Because I was not about to be creative twice. So, yeah, so you know, but those are kind of the things that you want to keep in mind. You know, somebody might go to an art gallery looking for art, but again, you know, my mom might go to an art gallery. My mom loves buying other people's art. She does not want to make her own. So, you know, she might get turned off if there's, you know, a paintbrush and thinks she has to make it herself. Like, I just use her as an example because she's kind of, that's my mom. So I did see a lot of that. You'll probably see a lot of that here. I like this. I like that this person had like their notes. Like, all right, break of bagel, although here's the thing, the name was not break of the day, it's break of day. So again, make sure that that you've got the name correctly, but I like that they were thinking this through. All right, where are they? Who might go there? What is it? It's a small business. They have breakfast and lunch. You know, what might their marketing products be? I really love seeing the notes that you guys take and where your thought process goes. And that would be, you know, I love seeing that. So again, and then we've got some icons being drawn here. I like this. I also like the notes. So much text. Yeah. But like, you know, thinking through the leaves and thinking through the teacups. I like that. I love this one with the croissant. Even though, you know, it's the Break of Day Bagel Cafe. Like, I kind of like that. I don't know. Like, we have things other than bagels. You know, the egg, maybe the egg is the sun again. I really like this one too, that the mountains are inside of the coffee in the coffee cup. I really like, I just love the thought processes that's happening here with these sketches. And even started to draw it in. Oh, that's too much detail. So these are great. These sketches are great. I love them. You know, I love seeing good sketches. And then thinking through, all right, what might design 1, design 2, and design 3 end up being? I like this. But again, I want to see them, you know, finished in Illustrator. Out of all of them, I love where this one's going. So I definitely want to see this one, I think. But again, I love seeing sketches. That's another thing, you know, my husband does a lot of illustration. He actually works for the Navy as an illustrator. And he's notorious for sketching anywhere and everywhere. Like, I will find some of his best work on old lined paper that, you know, he found on the floor of his car or something. And I'm like, well, this is a great piece. It's too bad that you drew it on the back of a Dunkin' Donuts napkin. You know, it's very, if you've ever seen Mad Men, it's very Mad Men, the way he works. All right, so again, we've got Metropolitan Art Gallery, but again, I'm seeing lots of paintbrushes and paint palettes, so kind of going back to what we were talking about. And I think everybody kind of started to go in this direction. thinking of it as a paint studio as opposed to an art gallery. So again, you'll want to really think this through. I think that this one, simplistically, I don't think that we need these splotches, but this one is starting to go in the right direction, but I would simplify it even more. And I think for some of these, you are going to need the full name, because they're not as known to be able to I think you can use the initials, but I think the name has to accompany it as well. Now, there was a lot of Metropolitan Art Gallery this time, I will say. So we've got, again, the pens and the brushes, the palette. I like where this one is going because of the stained glass. I might lose the brush and possibly maybe turn the initials into pieces in the stained glass. I think that might be a way to go with this one. Just thinking out loud. I didn't even write this in the comments to the student. And now that I'm seeing it like a third and a fourth time, I'm like, wait a minute. You know what? That could look really cool, like turning the initials into stained glass. Because again, the gallery could have all different types of art there, and stained glass is a type of art that they might be selling. Halen Carter's. I like how people were turning the guitar into the letters, like the letter H and the letter C. I thought that was really cool. Another one. So, I think this one is the strongest of the three. And the reason being is I'm not sold, and I don't know if this was no, this was definitely a font choice. I'm not feeling this font. It feels kind of like a ransom letter. And I'm just not feeling that. I think that this is a better font choice, especially for readability. But again, think through, if you're going to use an illustration, it needs to be really well illustrated. So again, maybe 1 point or 2 points. Think of how many points you have here when you're drawing these these flames. You can see the difference in this version as opposed to this version. And here's the thing. There is nothing wrong, and I'm just going to let you know, with sourcing the line, the line from this Halen Carter. So let me kind of show you how to do that. From their old logo. There's nothing wrong with sourcing that line right there if you need it instead of redrawing it. So let me go over to the logos. Nope. Right here. So I'll kind of show you how to do that. And you can see, when I turn things to outlines in here, you can just see how much, when we're talking about, there's just too much going on. I'm going to just copy this guitar. And I use the white arrow tool and just start to kind of delete unnecessary things. Sometimes it's easier to do it. And I want to grab just kind of this line right here. just kind of starting to break it apart. And maybe to here, to that point. And gotta figure out which one is which. It's kind of hard. Get rid of that interior one. I know that I don't need that one. Don't need that one. And that. All right, I've broken that down to this point here. And again, I want just this outside line. So gotta kind of zoom in here. Maybe, oh, so many little points all over the place, just because there was just so much detail. That, and I'm trying to figure out if something is, you know, a point, or if it's my dirty laptop screen. Right? All right, so then I'm gonna turn this. There we go. So now I have just this point right here. So I can rotate this, and I can even flip it. And, you know, maybe turn this into the top of my H. You know, I could have even kept going, I guess, and used just this line of the guitar if I wanted to. You know, so that might help to do something like that if you're having trouble drawing these, or even do something like this. And again, make sure that you just kind of save a new version of the logo. I still have the original that I can go back to, just in case. You know, maybe even something like this. And, you know, I don't know, you can kind of skew it, but you can kind of see where I'm going with this, where you don't need to completely redraw that line work. You know, just another little tip or trick for you for this week. All right, this Metropolitan Art Gallery, I feel like is going in the right direction. I also like the notes. The colors of the brush tip are the same as the Colorado state flag because they're located in Colorado, so I like that. Again, that thinking. I like where this is going. This has more of almost a museum feel to it, which when you go back to how they described themselves, community focused, friendly, inclusive, process oriented, positive, upbeat, artistic, unique, creative, high energy, you know, kind of like a museum vibe might really work. I really like this one. And this one wasn't one of the, and this one. And they weren't two of the three that were picked as the final ones, which was kind of a bummer to me. So again, these were the three choices that this student chose to go with. But I'm not going to lie, I love this one and this one. I think I love this one the most. It's just so simplistic, and I think that it's really, these two are really on the right path. So I hope the students watching and I don't know, pretend I'm your client. I really love it. So I am your client. All right, again, we've got some more sketches. I love these sketches. These are great. Really starting to think things through. I like this one where it's kind of, you know, the sun is breaking the logo. I think that that's great. It's kind of reminiscent of this curve. This, however, is a little bit too busy. Again, you want to really pare down, and if you're having trouble doing the illustration, then scrap the illustration. That's what I say. This one I think is on the right track, and this one's on the right track. Again, but you know, you want to make sure that you can do that curve without this little break right here. There is actually some tools in Illustrator that will do a curve like this for you without really having to do too much of the pen tool, using the pen tool too much. I think this one's probably on the right track. Another break of day. Very good layout on page 1. You know, giving the keywords, reflecting. I like this too, reflecting on the current logo, the pros and the cons. I think that's great. A client would love to see that. And then we have these concepts. I love this one, the broken bagel. I love this one, turning into the mountains. I just love where that's going. I like where this one's going too, with the bite taken out of it. And then the bagel breaking through with the mountain. I think that that's great. And then these are the 3 chosen. So I think out of the 3 chosen, not gonna lie, I really, really like this one. I don't think that these dots down here are necessary and they're going to get lost. But I love how the bagel is turned into the mountains. Like, I really, really like that. My one thing would be to add the little asterisk, you know, or whatever it is, accent sign over the E, just as a little extra flair, even though it's not in the original. But yeah, I think that this one is great. I really do love this one. Then we have CP software solutions. So I didn't see a lot of these ones either. I didn't see a lot of people doing CP software solutions, which I get. This one's kind of a hard one. Not gonna lie. So here's my thing. You want to have some variation. These 9 sketches really do have the same feel to them. So you want to make sure that you have some variation. Out of these 3, I think this one is on the right track, just because I'm worried, number one, when this scales, that this font is going to get lost. My second worry is this font looks dated. It looks like, you know, kind of like 1980s bitmap font. And if you're a software solutions company, the last thing I want to be thinking is dated when I'm thinking of your company, because you're the people I'm going to make sure that everything works correctly. You're supposed to be fast, smart, capable, reliable, connected, accessible. You're supposed to take care of my software needs. And if your logo feels dated and bitmappy, that may give me the impression that, you know, your software isn't up to date, that you don't have the latest and greatest, those sort of things. And that's the last thing that you want to put in my mind when I look at your logo. So I think of the 3, you know, I think this one, that's the reason why I would go with this one, because you don't want to give that impression to customers. Another Metropolitan Art Gallery. So again, going back to the brush paint and stuff like that. Also, deviate from the font that they gave. This isn't a great font when we're stopping and thinking about, you know, they're selling high-end art. They're, you know, they're part of the community. You know, maybe there's, you know, local artists are featured there, things like that. So you really want to think, does this font necessarily embody that? And I don't think it does. This is kind of like a cutesy font, and they're not a cutesy company. You know, it doesn't match what it is that they do. So, you know, make sure that you deviate from the font that they gave and from those splotches. So again, I think, you know, after having the discussion about how it's, you know, an art gallery, it's not a place to go make art, I think that a lot of people are kind of like, oh, on that logo. So there it is. All right. We've got the Guitar Academy again. So the guitar with the flames, 2 guitars. This one's breaking the guitar. I like where this one's going. I'd almost not have the full guitar, but rather have it end right here where Guitar Academy is. I think that would be kind of cool, but I do like how it breaks through at the top. And I like this one. I like the idea of this one. It needs to be reworked, but I like the thought process behind it. The record album, like kind of being like old school, like records. I like that. I just want to see I want to see the album itself become like real, like Hale and Carter's Guitar Academy, where the words make up the album. And maybe it's just, you know, maybe there's this guitar right here, or half of the guitar with the album coming out of the side of it, and then Hale and Carter's Guitar Academy going into the left side of the guitar. I don't know. I can just see so much coming from like coming from the record here, and I think that this just needs to be pushed. But this could be so awesome of a logo, and it's the only one that I saw that incorporated the record in the record jacket. So I really like the. As soon as I saw that, my brain started going on what could happen with this. And then even just adding it into the record, kind of finishing that idea. I think that this one, if pushed, could be awesome. And then out of these ones, I like the idea of this one, not the line work, but maybe a solid guitar and a solid half circle here, solid half circle here, have the guitar end underneath the words and have it end right here. Like it, and I think that could work as well. Another Central Park Software Solutions. So again, you want to be simpler. This is more of an illustration, not so much a logo. There's, you know, this kind of reminds us of that Apple logo where there's just a lot going on. This is much simpler. I worry about how Software Solutions is kind of upside down here. I think I would flip this and have it read Software Solutions going this way. This is too similar to the original. This doesn't really say software company. So yeah, I think I think going back to this one, and I'm assuming that this is supposed to be a like a computer chip. I would really try to either simplify it or make it make it look more like the computer chip. Central Park Software Solutions. So again, want to make sure that we don't have, anything too graphical, because when this is scaled down to business card size, we're not going to be able to see this. It's going to get lost. It's too much. The same with this one. I'm intrigued to see where this one is going. That's still too much. I think I would keep pushing this one. And another Metropolitan Art Gallery. So we've got some sketches here in the sketchbook, which I like. I like where that's going. Becoming, the shapes becoming the M. I think that's fun. This I like. I love that this has been simplified, the M, the A, and the G, to its most simple shapes. Like, I think this is really cool. Like, it's so, like, kind of 1960s, but really in a good way. Like modern, and I'm losing my words today. It's a Monday. But just really like super simplistic modern. I really like that. I want to like this one. I really do. But it's the G is throwing me off, because this is the circle going through the G, which is fine. But because this is the real G, the real letter G here, it looks like the G has two circles, even though it doesn't. And it's bothering me. And it's like, I don't want it to bother me, but it's just not as, like, it really works with the M. I'm almost wondering if you just did it with the M and then lost it on the A and the G and saw how that looked. I also like this one where it's color blocked. The M is color blocked. I like that. This one is nice. I love the simplicity of this. Great font choices too. And this one. I just want to see the letters closer together in this one. There's too much spacing, but leave the circle the size that it is and just bring these a bit closer, so that way this amount of space is between the edges and this amount of space is between the letters. This one. So yeah, I think this might be my favorite of the bunch. This and this one of this group. That's a tough one. Then we have another Hale and Carter's. At the rate we're going, I'm going to do assignment 2 tomorrow. I like where this illustration went right here. Like, that's nice. Like, really thinking through the ampersand becoming the guitar and the G. And I think that this was very well illustrated here. And this is a great font choice to go with this. I really like where this is going. This one, just a bit too much going on. Out of these two, again, I don't like the border. I like it better blocked out right like this. But There's something about this one that I really like. I'm not keen on all the space in between, and I'm trying to think how you could still have this happen without all this space, and I don't know if you can. And I don't know if I'm just overthinking it. Sometimes I am. Then we have Break a Day. In the original, but something was missing. Oh, okay. This one should have been two different submissions. So these were the three finalized ones. Again, I want to see things closer, and you might have seen me write in some of your comments like this needs to be more compact. There's too much space here. And I get it, like we're working within the square and we want to kind of fill the square, but we don't actually need to fill the square. I would bring Bagel Cafe up. You have such great negative space going on here. Bring it up into this negative space. And I'd like to see Break of Day, maybe even breaking the plane of the circle. Again, you want to get things a little bit more compact. I'm not really feeling the flower here. I know that they had the flower in their original one, but I think that this is a much better icon. And then this, again, just too much going on in this picture. Right. If it starts to look like a poster, exactly. And another Helen Carter's. So we have some drafts here. I'm not sold on this font for it because, again, it's kind of a cutesy font and you're pairing it with some really traditional rock and roll imagery, and it doesn't go. It doesn't go together. This I like right here. And I really like where this one is going. I have some thoughts because I always have some thoughts. I would like to see less space between the ampersand and the word hail. So maybe move this over and move Academy over so it's nestled in underneath here. And maybe what you can do is bring the guitar over, and the R attaches to the guitar somehow. And maybe this part of the guitar comes down and attaches to another letter. Just trying to think this through, and then maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But, just some things I'm trying to think like to tie it all in together. Really complete that flow in a way. And two more. We're actually going to make it through. All right. I like that the sun is definitely a bagel. I want it to be more of a bagel. Like, I want to definitely be able to tell that it is a bagel. So maybe like this pine tree's behind the bagel or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to think this through. I'm not sold on this font though. I think it's too thin against this really chunky imagery. I think it's getting lost. So again, kind of carrying on that theme. I think this one's the strongest so far in that theme. I might use maybe this font with it. That could go. So yeah, I think this one's probably going in the direction it needs to go in the most. But with this font here instead, I think that would be a really good pairing. And sometimes, part of one and part of another, we start to mesh them all together, and then we get, kind of a logo that ends up working that we didn't originally set out to find. And then Free Financial Partners. Because again, we didn't really have any of these. So I think, all right, this is what I liked about this one. This graphic right here comes from this part right here, just resourcing this one little piece of this graphic, but simplifying it where there was just way too much going on here and, you know, putting this together. And I think that, like, I think that this really makes that work because of that. I think that this one was really good. I also really liked this, like, you know, kind of building up to the F, and this one. But, you know, and if I had seen these two on their own, I would have been like, oh, yeah, that's really cool. But honestly, once I saw this one, it's like this, you know, this rising sun, almost, you know, we're your highest priority. And there's some really good font choices going on here too. This one feels so complete to me. So I really do like this one. So it ended up being like kind of a photo finish. I really wanted to be able to show this one for the Free Financial because I think only 2 or 3 people even chose Free Financial, which that was a tough one. And the Central Park Solutions was a tough one. So again, you know, there it is. All right. So, you know, we kind of went over a lot of different things today. We did our critique. Tomorrow I'm going to get into assignment 2. And you know what, because of time, I'm actually gonna go over our discussion prompt as well today. You know, just for those of you who want to get started on that tonight. And then we'll focus on assignment 2 tomorrow. But let's just really quickly look over our discussion for this week. We're talking about logo challenges within diverse companies. So one of the most common ways a company will grow is by introducing new products to its overall brand portfolio. If a new product will be associated with existing products, this requires a company to choose amongst the 3 following options. Number 1, creating the new product as a sub-theme under the existing logo. Number 2, modifying the logo in some way to integrate the new product. Or 3, creating an entirely new logo to reflect the new focus of the company. So the latter 2 options are especially complex to navigate. Though the changes are often done in the name of progress, and because consumers can become emotionally tied to a product's unique look, think of how everybody loses their mind every time a logo changes, a change in visual elements can be disrupting at best, and at worst, feel like a betrayal to the consumer. When a company decides to update their logo in any way, whether creating something completely new or merely updating a typeface or a color choice, they must create a clear and logical rollout plan in place to communicate the thinking and reasoning behind their choice. In this way, the company opens up a dialogue with each consumer and allows him or her to better understand and feel part of the process. So you may think that backlash does not occur. The backlash was so bad with the new Gap logo, it never even made it to print. It never even got put on a sign. They just went back to the old logo from before. So, you know, that backlash does occur. It really, really does. So, you know, don't underestimate the power of people being mad and taking to Twitter, right? All right, so for this discussion, we will once again return to our ice cream shop logo that we were talking about in week 1 and brand identity discussed in week 1. And I want you to imagine that a few years have passed since you initially created the visual system for the ice cream shop. And in that time frame, they've become hugely successful, and they've expanded to 3 different ice cream outlets around the city. So growth has begun to stabilize, and the owners have begun to seek out other consumer markets to enter. Because the ice cream is especially popular with parents and children, the owners have decided to enter the children's toy market and create a series of educational games for mobile devices, which you may think, all right. What does that have to do with ice cream? Because you worked on their logo, they have approached you to help them navigate the visual feel and look of this new endeavor. And though you, the designer, know there is not one correct answer, you need to share with them the pros and cons of creating an entirely new visual identity for the games, keeping the existing logo, or creating a new hybrid logo that bridges both the ice cream and the games. So in approaching this task, what are you going to tell them that the pros and cons are of each of the options? What option do you, the designer, think is best for them to pursue and why? And if they did decide to create a completely new logo that merged both ice cream elements and game elements, what kind of marketing material might they need to create to educate their consumers? So for your citation, you might use articles that show examples of how companies have managed to navigate their visual image and maintain consumer confidence when diversifying products produced. You can also find articles from experts that suggest ways logo design has been used to represent industries who have merged together. Your initial and reply post should work to develop a group understanding of this topic, challenge each other, build on each other, always be respectful, but discuss this and figure it out together. So again, these are your questions that you need to answer right here. This section right here. What are the pros and cons of each option? What option do you think is best and why? And if they decided to create a completely new logo, what marketing material are they going to use? But you also, don't forget, you need a citation. Don't forget to respond to 2 of your fellow students. And yeah, so this will be fun. I always love seeing what direction you guys tell them to go in this week for this one. All right, so I'm going to end it here. I'm going to stop the recording, but if you guys have any questions or concerns between now and tomorrow, you can always feel free to email me. And again, we'll go over the assignment and assessment tomorrow during our live session. All right, so thank you everyone who was able to make it today.